Services, or DFPS, Department of Family and Protective Services in Texas. Do y'all remember having or seeing all of those news articles on what was going on with CPS last year and this year with the high turnover rates, them taking people's children, them finding children sleeping in hotel rooms with their clothes in trash bags? I mean, if you name it, they probably did it. Okay, so it's time for some regulations in that department too. Just this year alone, the judge threatened to hold the state in contempt because they found children that were supposed to be in the care of CPS sleeping in hotel rooms. So how do you take a child out of one environment that you think is bad and put them into an even worse environment? What about the story about the newborn baby that was taken from her parents because they refused to bring her to a hospital after she was born? They chose a midwife over bringing her to traditional medicine, and the baby was taken for over 3 weeks. And tell me how that's moral. Tell me how that's right that this system, that this agency was able to go into all of these people's homes and either manipulate the families into taking interviews or taking drug tests or giving their children up. How is that okay? How is that okay for this agency to have the policies in place that it does that, well, as soon as you get a case across your desk, you need to go investigate it. It doesn't matter whether these accusations are true or not. You need to go into the home and interview these parents. Do not tell them about their rights. Make them take these drug tests. If they have a little bit of marijuana in their system, we need to talk about, whether we can place their child with a family member. Like, how is this okay and we're not seeing the detriment of the families as it is? The kids are probably already traumatized and you want to traumatize them even more? So, as of August 15th, they now have a new head of child abuse investigations because of the high turnover rates and heavy criticism of the agency. They had the highest turnover rate in 2022 with 4 in 10 caseworkers leaving their jobs. And of course, they've ushered in so many leadership changes over the past few years because of all of the indictments from federal judges about these burnt out caseworkers. Then you have them putting these children's lives at risk in the state's care. Then you find out that the children that are in the foster care homes have been probably even more abused after they've entered into the system. So finally, something has been done with the laws when it comes to DFPS. We are reforming infrastructure here, and we are reforming these organizations and how they work. There have been some bills that have become law as of September the 1st. These bills are going to hold this agency more accountable and have more protections when it comes to CPS investigations. Because too often, and I've seen it, fraudulent cases are made and these people or these families are made to adhere to the policies of the system, adhere to the rules of the investigations, adhere to the drug test, and adhere to having their child placed with a family member and having to go to court and basically turning their lives upside down for no apparent reason at all. Even if there's no harm done to the child. In my own experience, I've seen a woman who tested positive for a small dose of marijuana in her system and had her children placed with a family member for months on end. And she has to take parenting class after parenting class, disrupting her work as well as everything else because she was trying to get her children back. Although her children lived in a home with her, had food insecurity and a roof over their head, and they were well taken care of. But that little marijuana turned this lady's life upside down. CPS has involved themselves in way too many people's lives with no accountability and no one to protect the families that they have hurt. You cannot accuse someone of doing something without probable cause. And that is why we have had 6 bills effectively become law. First one is HB 63. This will obtain caller's identity in order to weed out any fake or fraudulent reports. Texas will no longer permit any anonymous reports to CPS, and any emergency anonymous tips will be redirected to 911. That bill has been ridiculed, but to be quite honest, I don't understand why. If we're all on the same page of protecting these families and protecting the children, you shouldn't want anyone to fraudulently make any type of phone calls to upend the lives of these people. In 2022 alone, only 1,000 reports out of 12,473 anonymous calls were found to be substantiated or real. So could you imagine? Only 1,000 out of 12,000 anonymous calls were found to be real. That's caseworkers, not only caseworkers' time of having to investigate, but all of the families that were put through the ringer. Interviews, drug tests, parenting classes, and no telling what else they had to endure for an anonymous call that wasn't even true. And that is why HB 63 is needed. The next one is HB 730. It requires any CPS worker to notify parents of their rights, including the right to refuse searches, the right to refuse drug tests, and interviews with children. If you want to conduct a search, you would have to show probable cause to obtain a court order. Just like the cops do when they come to your door and they cannot search your home until they get a warrant. Same thing. You know how many cases are thought of because of retaliation in divorce proceedings, or retaliations because this person is mad at this person, or this best friend is mad at this best friend, so they called in CPS anonymously so that they can bear their false witness or bear their false accusations? That is ridiculous. And the children are put in the middle of these feuds and put in the middle of this drama, and they involve the agency with all of their mess. And the caseworkers are having to not only regulate these cases, but make sure that all of these accusations are truthful. The next one is SB 2120, which will require that there be an attorney appointed to any low-income parents, which is only right because they didn't ask to be put into your system. They didn't ask for you to come in and take their children away. These bills are what's moral to do. HB 1087. For a judge to grant the removal, the state would have to meet more checkpoints to clearly document all reasonable efforts that have been done to keep that child with that family. So as a caseworker, have you done everything in your power to make sure that you can keep this child with its family? Have you exhausted all of your options before you go to a judge to try and seek removal paperwork? Remember, our goal is to keep these children out of the system. And there has been more state money allocated to provide wraparound services for at-risk families, parenting classes, home visits from nurses for pregnant women, and short-term counseling. So the state is providing the funding now so that you can have your services at home if you need help. Next is SB 3765, which requires a removed child to have a backpack or duffel bag when going into foster care instead of these black trash bags as if they're taking out the trash. And lastly, SB 1379. The state is going to help these kids set up checking and saving accounts to establish financial security. This new legislation will help the children who are aging out of the foster care system with their finances, allowing them some type of independence whenever they age out, to where they're just not thrown on the streets with nothing to do and nowhere to go. It's going to provide them a mentor and put them in a mentorship program to where they'll have some type of guidance in their life. Just recently, I heard someone that I know say that they no longer needed their foster care kids because they were already making enough money. Do y'all know how many people foster kids just to get a check? That it has nothing to do with the kids themselves or taking care of their child or making sure that their child has a home, but it has everything to do with money. Just like any corporation or anything else that goes on in this nasty, corrupt system, it's all about money for them. I once talked to someone who had fostered about 17 children in her lifetime, and she was only in it for the checks too. Did these children receive the love and proper care that they deserved? We'll never know, because when money is involved, people will do any and everything to get it. So now the agency is already in the process of outsourcing management of these foster cases to local, private providers by what is called the community-based care model, in which the community is going to rally together to make sure that these foster care kids are taken care of. These bills that have now went into effect on the 1st of this month are going to do so many tremendous wonders for this agency, as well as the families that are involved. And I cannot be more happier as someone who worked within this system and have seen the detriment of families and seen children being taken out of their homes for no reason whatsoever. I am truly appreciative of these bills that have passed. I thank God for the legislative system that we have in place in Texas, and I thank God for our governor for making sure that these things get done. It's time to stop pushing all of these issues to the side as if they don't matter. CPS has done a lot of bad, but reforming the infrastructure, reforming these agencies, reforming this system, the schools, homeschooling, reforming the system sounds godly to me. These moral bills that are turning into laws is what's godly to me. And that's what matters. We have to do what is right in the eyes of God. We have to do what is right when it comes to these children, the families, and all of it. Because what else can you do? It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, whether you're leaning Democrat or Republican, or how you feel about this person or that person in legislature, or this person or that person in the government. That doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what matters is what's moral. It doesn't matter who's passing the laws or passing the bills. With that being said, I thank you for watching this video and hope that it has informed you on the laws around CPS. Thank you so much. Have a good day.